recording.
Is this Carlos?
Yes, this is Carlos.
Good to see you, Carlos. You're looking at
Missed you guys. Putting on a little weight.
the weight. Yeah, you're redistributing your
The
weight.
bulk is working, buddy. The bulk is working.
Bulking up.
Oh, okay. Hey, what's going on? Back on the mat today with my friends. Excuse Carlos, he had some shellfish last night, and he's just feeling a little loaded. So, all right, today we're going to talk about what it is to be a blue belt, tips about being a blue belt, and just our own perspective on things that we wish we could tell our old self. Let's get started.
I'm a resident blue belt.
Yeah.
You are,
You got something to
no.
talk.
All right.
His memories would be fresher than ours.
That's right. I'm still.
All right.
I feel like blue belt for me was about escaping. People talk a lot about like white belt is surviving, and I think that I found that to be true. And I definitely felt in blue belt starting to connect the pieces of like how do I get out of here, and I really fell in love, especially in the early blue belt days before I knew how to submit anybody, with getting out of things and being someone that wasn't like recklessly hard to submit, but who wouldn't give up and would look for ways to get out as long as I wasn't in danger for the most part, made some mistakes.
Did you ever feel in danger because it felt like you held on forever?
Oh yeah, certainly. I mean,
What's the time?
someone like hurt my elbow pretty bad as like a fresh blue belt because I was trying to get out of something that I shouldn't have. So it happens.
Was that Eli?
No, it was not. He's no longer at the gym.
Okay.
Let's see. What else about being a blue belt? I guess also just actually trying to understand the positions and the progression of positions. As a white belt, I was just kind of out here getting thrown around and trying to throw people around, and it wasn't until blue belt that I really started understanding the guard and the half guard and the side control and what all of these things meant. And so I probably could have sped that up a little bit with some like self-education to know what these terms were instead of just kind of hearing as we went.
Mm-hmm.
But that's been, I think, my blue belt journey from my experience is like learning to getting past surviving and actually getting out of things so that you might end up in an advantageous position. And then just understanding, where we are and what your options are from these places. And then here, towards the end of blue belt, starting to understand submissions and like what works for me and what my game might look like.
You understand, and I'm being so real, you understand way more than I even did at blue belt. I remember getting my blue belt and thinking it was the coolest thing ever, and then it dawned on me just how much I did not know. And I'm telling you, when I was in white belt, I thought I knew a lot. And I thought I could coach people here and there on the mat, other white belts and stuff, and because, I submitted this blue belt or I caught this purple belt and I just thought I was something. But it was when I got blue belt, I realized I really didn't know anything. And I don't even remember learning. I lost my train of thought. But
I don't remember learning anything.
I don't remember learning. I learned. I made a short today about being a blue belt, and one of the things I said was being humble. Like, can you be humble as a blue belt and continue to learn? Because I feel like it's such a trap if you go to blue belt and think that you know it all and that you aren't willing to learn even from a white belt or from anybody. And so, personally for me, as a blue belt, I realized how much I did not know. And I keep repeating that because I thought I could teach when I got the blue belt. And then I remember telling my wife, like, when I get a blue belt, I'll be able to, maybe hold some classes at the church. And I didn't even know what I was doing, and it took me forever into blue belt. Even right before I got purple belt, I really didn't even understand a lot of passing. I didn't understand a lot of things. So I think my blue belt journey was still a journey of learning how to defend and learning how to attack, but just also realizing that I had a lot to learn. So
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah. So there's always a saying that I've always heard that once you hit blue belt, the training wheels come off and you're kind of exposed to a little bit more of the true pace and intensity of what jiu-jitsu can be. And I remember that happening because when I was promoted to blue belt, Mark and I have joked about this before. Is like I had signed up for a competition as a white belt, and I was already signed up. I was training for it, and Mark promoted me to blue belt like shortly before the competition, so I had to change my status on there, and that's an entirely different kind of a feel, and so you get to feel that intensity, like I said, the training wheels come off, and I think that's why the stereotypical statement of people get their blue belts and they disappear. I think it's because they weren't truly ready for what the journey's going to really look like.
That's good.
And also what it's going to really feel like. Because as a white belt, you're kind of, for lack of a better term, you're kind of on trial basis, I think. I think now as an upper belt, you kind of see so many white belts come in and like, oh, this guy's got potential. And then he just never shows up again. Mm-hmm. And so it's tough to really, to echo what you said in one of your other videos, pour yourself and your knowledge and your time and your effort into somebody who's not even really going to be there. And so I think the intensity that fresh blue belts feel is, and I can only speak for myself, when I see somebody who's getting a blue belt and they're coming back to class and they're showing themselves, okay, this guy is worth, kind of investing time in and talking to and working through these positions, because he's going to be here for the long run to help us all get better. And so I think when I was a blue belt, that was told to me early on, don't be a statistic, stick around, keep coming. And that really helped. And so if anybody's coming into blue belt or fresh blue belt, I would give them that advice, to stick with it. It's going to suck, but there's going to be days where it hurts, but that's part of the journey, and then you'll be able to kind of live through it and have tales to tell, right?
And I really don't like the fact that, there's only one other guy that I had trained with when I started is a black belt now.
Yeah.
I was white belt with him. I ended up being a blue belt with him, purple belt with him, brown belt with him, and so it's really sad to see that statistic of those people not staying and not hanging out. And we had some fallout during COVID, and I don't know if people get hurt, if they get smashed all the time, if they think they just learned it all. If, like you said, they don't understand like the journey that they're going on. I remember I was sitting over there against the wall, and Professor Mark said, "Hey, are you going to stay here till black belt?" And I was a blue belt at the time. You know what I said? "Man, I'm just trying to get my purple belt." And so it's terrible because he had a different mindset for me in that moment than I had for myself. And so I was really belt focused. Obviously, getting a purple belt is so awesome. It's that belt where you put on that color and you're like, this is the color belt. Like blue belt's a color belt, but when you get that purple belt, that feels like that real color belt that you're putting on. And you are super excited to tie that one on, because everyone knows that purple belts at school, most of the time, purple belts at other schools are snipers. They're like silent assassins that are in the school. And so I was looking forward to getting my purple belt, instead of having, like you said, that long-term perspective of going, okay, white to blue. And I'll tell you what makes it hard is I came in and Mark's like, yeah, you'll get your blue belt in 2 years. If you go search on YouTube, people say, get your blue belt in 6 months, get your blue belt in 1 year. And I'm not saying you can't do that, but I know Professor Mark wants us to put the time in. So when he gives you your blue belt at 2 years, you've earned it. And I know people that got it earlier than 2 years. We know Alex got it at 4 years because he sandbagged the whole time.
It's a whole other subject. Sandbagging.
But that's like so real, like having a long-term perspective. And then that rolls into, how do you train as a blue belt? Are you showing up to every single class and going so hard that you're going to injure yourself and then take your own self out? Or are you going to take care of yourself while you train, take care of your partner so that you can do this long-term? When I started at 33, I was able to do jiu-jitsu, go hard, go back to work and not feel a thing. Now, when I train hard, I go back to work and I'm like, trying to just like pick up the pieces. Sometimes I gotta lay my head on the desk. I'm just wore out. And so for a brand new blue belt, if you could focus on drilling and not killing, just focus on your position, focus on drilling, focus on passing, really start to build your game. How they always say at purple belt, I don't know if I've heard this, purple belts when your game forms. I completely disagree, because a lot of things that I was doing at white belt are a part of my game now. You're actually beginning your game into white belt and blue belt. Your game's already, your foundation is forming. And so then when you get to purple and brown, you're actually refining all those corners. You're taking all the green Play-Doh, the red Play-Doh, blue Play-Doh. You're taking all these Play-Dohs and you're mushing together and making it one color. So you're able to actually take that. One day Shaggy said to me, man, he was talking about, I forgot how the conversation went, but we were talking about how a square, once it moves around long enough, if it was to roll around, it'll eventually turn into a sphere. So it wearing down to where finally it can flow and move. So if you can take time as a blue belt, pour into your passing. Don't just pour into submissions, pour into passing, pour into position. Work from side control, work from half guard, work mount, work those places, and just instead of trying to be like, I'm just gonna win, but I want to learn and build my jiu-jitsu game. So that would be my suggestion to any brand new blue belts, and even just within your blue belt, if you could slow down and become a great uke and become someone that they look at and go, hey, I want to roll with you because you make me better, instead of going, dude, I don't like rolling with that blue belt because he tries to murder me and hurt me. And you'll carry that.
At risk of making the video too long, I think this kind of bleeds back into the white belt questions, right? You would say to yourself as a white belt, which is, why are you even here? When you decide, like, well, I'm just here for a workout, then yeah, none of this advice matters, because you're just here to blow and go. But if you're here for the journey, you understand that there is a journey involved with it, then your white belt time will be devoted to building that foundational skill set, like what you're talking about. Because things I did as a white belt, I still do now, and I'll probably still do as who knows however long I'm able to go, but I'll do it to the day I'm not able to roll anymore. Same moves. I'm still going to try to bench press people off of me. That's
who does it? So
But just to kind of echo what you were saying, those skills, those habits, if you develop good habits early, it'll just make your journey more enjoyable. Versus, okay, now at purple, I'm going to really start focusing on my game. Let me undo all of the bad habits that I've developed, and now try to, become more finesse minded.
That's good.
And that's a challenge.
And I don't know about y'all, but I had a lot of bad habits from blue to purple.
Yeah.
I'm serious. I was on my knees all the time.
Yeah.
In the past 2 years, I've actually gotten to where I stay off my knees now, and I'm moving in that. But for a long time, I would just crawl around on my knees.
Yeah. I remember Mark made an emphasis to he started hollering about it in class, and get off your knees. And it shifted the dynamic of the gym, I think. But yeah.
Carlos, did you want to add anything in?
That's insightful.
Brilliant.
Carlos.
Well, hey man, thanks for joining us. I know we kind of rambled on for a while, and there's so much more we could say about this. There are so many more things that could be added to this topic, and honestly, I feel like we barely even scratched it. So please leave your comments and leave your thingies in the comments section. Also, like and subscribe, and until next week. Awesome.
Great.
Good job, Carlos.
That's good.
I think another good portion of it is fighting your ego each promotional.
I wish you would have just came in here and said that. You should just walked over.
I didn't want to inject myself.
What'd you say?
I said it's important to recognize that you have to check your ego at each promotion too, right? Like you'll get to blue, and then you think, oh, okay, well I'm a blue belt now, so I can do this, this, and this. But you can still get caught the same way you did as a white belt. It's just you're a little bit further in the journey.
That's right.
Right. So like keeping that ego in check and knowing that just because I got promoted to blue belt doesn't mean Eli still can't bench press me off of it.
That's right.
It didn't change what I was playing or how I was playing it. It's just where you're at in your current progression. And it took me 2.5 years to get there. Right. And I remember whenever I came back, because I had about a 6-month break where I was hospitalized. Before he would go in, Alex and I were both white belts. He would play the same technical approach to technical mount, working the arm attacks, arm bars, triangle chokes, arm triangles. And then whenever I came back, his game had completely evolved at blue belt. Like he gets put in the blue belt, now he's dropping into 50-50, dropping into ankle locks, leg attacks. I'm like, I don't have an answer for any of this.
Mm-hmm.
And it just highlights that consistency is more important than motivation. You can be motivated to go to class today, but discipline will keep you coming to the point where you advance your game, progress further down that journey in a much more controlled measure. Like you said, I wasn't real good at this position, so I went and I researched it, right? You devoted time to improving your game off the mat. And like whenever I came back, whereas before I thought we kind of had back and forth kind of playful rounds, after I came back, I was like, no, Alex is just beating the hell out of me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it wasn't even close. It just shows, like, at every level, you have to realize that, like, it's easy to let ego come in and say, well, I'm this now. And kind of puff your chest up a little bit. But it, like Eli said, every time they're giving you a little bit more intensity. They're giving you a little bit quicker transitions, a little bit. They're turning the dial up just a little bit at each little promotion level and then you get to black belt, and you think, okay, well, I'm at black belt now. I've met the summit of the mountain. No, you're just at another plateau. Like there's levels to that. Like